Okie dokie, and it's it's recording. Welcome to the Actor and Agent podcast with me, Jen, and
me, Snezhina. Hello.
I'm realizing more and more as we're doing this, and we actually have the videos now, that we probably should introduce ourselves, because otherwise it's like people know who they are. People know who we are.
Who?
Who are they? Yeah. But yeah, so today's episode we were going to just talk more about the process involved in getting booked on. Yeah.
Booking.
Agency.
How it all kind of works. Agency, production people's casting. Just stuff that you might not think of right away or at all if you're a new actor. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, off we go.
I know. And here we go. We get into the podcast.
Go. Yeah. No, well, first we can talk about, I don't know, stuff we've been watching that's interesting this week.
Yeah,
things that we've been doing.
Loosens us up.
I won't give it away too much, but in our previous podcast we had a guest, Maria Georgescu. Well, I guess I can give it away.
Yeah,
cut
it'll
that
be
bit
afterwards.
out.
Yeah.
Cut this shit out, Jennifer. In our previous podcast with Maria, as you'd listened, she mentioned some really cool shows to check out. So I started watching Search Party with I don't remember her name, maybe from Arrested Development. It's, I don't know, it's really easy to watch. They're really super short episodes. They're like 22 minutes. But it's got like this dark kind of like, there's a mystery, somebody's missing, and then there's just this little dark comedy bit sprinkled through. It's quite hilarious and abrupt. So it's pretty fun. So I started watching that yesterday just to check it out.
Oh, cool.
And still watching that Mare of Easttown with Kate Winslet. It's excellent. I don't know if I mentioned this on a podcast or if it was just to Jen, but
I have no idea if
excellent
that was recorded or
show.
not.
Yeah, don't know. It's the new Kate Winslet show, Mare of Easttown, and it's week to week, so there's only been like 4 episodes released so far, but so good. She's really great, and their little accent from where they're from is funny, and yeah, it's all just very good and gripping, and they leave you on a cliffhanger usually, which is like, not have to wait till next week. It's not for that Netflix, like, let's just binge for more situation, which is kind of nice because it gives you that, like,
what kind of keeps you, kind of keeps you on the hook. Still thinking about it, like, during the week.
Yes. Jennifer, have you been watching anything interesting?
Yes, I started and finished another murder documentary. People are going to think
Which one was it?
Mental. It's on Netflix. It's called Sons of Sam.
I watched that one too. We finished it as well.
Yeah. It's only 4 episodes, so it's so easy to...
It's good, though.
It's very good.
There's a lot of stuff I didn't know, and it kind of sheds a new light on Berkowitz that I didn't have before, which is interesting.
Yeah,
you almost feel like he's kind of a normal person in a way at some point.
No. It's very strange when you start to see the Son of Sam as like kind of an everyday normal
victim, maybe.
Yeah, but also like obviously we won't give it away, but that very end bit about something being wrapped up, I was a bit like, holy shit. And I literally was like tapping Ling, like, like, because obviously it just means that guy, anyway, we'll just leave that there. But it's really good. I mean, because I've seen a lot of these kind of documentaries where they kind of have you, and then it gets to the end and they goes, because
they don't really have any answers or haven't gotten to anywhere, so they're like, okay, well, that's it.
Yeah, like the Cecil Hotel. I was like, and I was so into it, and I was
like,
we
have no idea. So bye.
Yeah. And even that, did you watch the Art Heist as well?
I haven't watched that one because you were kind of merp on it.
Yeah,
So
it was.
like,
It was
I
just
don't
like,
know.
and again, because it's like open ended, nothing really happened.
Yeah.
It probably could have been a one-off episode. Do you know what I mean? But they ended up doing 4. Whereas Sons of Sam, it was 4 episodes, but I felt like I was learning stuff as I was going, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Definitely.
This is really interesting. I'm trying to think what else we're watching. Are we watching anything else? We're continuing with Grand Designs because obviously there's so much there. So, seeing people put their houses up, it's always very stressful when people are like talking big money. Because you're just like,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, like, how do you have that money just like hanging around there? What kind of human are you? But yeah, other than that, I think that's kind of it. I've been doing a bit more reading this week actually, because I've noticed that sometimes the books just get put on the side, and then I end up buying loads of them, and I'm like, damn it, let's pull them out. Are you reading anything?
Yeah, I read every night for at least an hour. Sorry. I just do. It's just what I like to do. And the book I'm reading is called Goldilocks. It's about 5 female astronauts who, in their world, like the Earth is kind of we've hit past global warming, so things are kind of going to shit. There's a timeline on how long people can live. Oh, wow. But they've also have this president who's wanting like women out of the workplace, and like you can only have one kid, and if you have another one you have to pay like a really steep child tax, and like also you can't work for 5 years after you've had a kid if you want to get like funding from the government. So anyways, these 5 women, really smart, were like, fuck that, we're just gonna steal this spaceship and make our own way to the new planet. So it's about them going there, but it kind of does like a back and forth of like kind of how they got there, and then also on the ship, and like kind of the issues they're facing and everything. Cool. And it's very sweet. It's like it's really cool because it's like sci-fi, and it's like, there's things going on bad and whatever, but then there's also like this really nice feminine aspect to it that's super relatable, and it's really nice. They called it like if The Martian means Handmaid's Tale or something.
Oh, whoa.
And I was like, that's kind of accurate-ish. But yeah, I'm almost halfway through, so who knows what's gonna happen after. But yeah, I like sci-fi, but it's not like too sci-fi where you're like, okay, because I've gotten some sci-fi books and started reading the first few pages, and I'm like, okay, this is like way beyond for me. They're like, in the planet Zoron, XY5, and then this person on this weird spaceship, and I'm like, generation 52 of Earth's like remnants, and I'm just like, okay,
too much,
too nerd for me. But this one is still very like realistic, but still they're like in space, and it's nice. So
that sounds good. That sounds nice. That kind of in a weird way kind of reminds me of that book that you recommended to me, and we both end up reading that, Across the Universe.
Still love it. Like, it's still a great book. One of my fave memories of reading like a book. So good. I feel like it is probably quite like a simple read now if I went back, because it's like young adult fiction, but like such a great story. Like I feel like they should have made a series out of it, like Battlestar Galactica style, and it would have been so good. I still think they should, but
you never know. They might do. Who knows?
I think it'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
If I could write screenplays, if I could do it.
God. I wish I actually had that talent to actually be able to write. I've got like, because we've talked about this before, not on the podcast obviously, but we've talked about before where we have ideas and we're like, but then it's like just trying to put that into a medium that's like acceptable or digestible for other people, whereas like in my mind it all makes sense.
Not only do you have to like break it down and like make all these conversations between people and dialogue that like still makes sense to the book, in the series, but not only that, it has to be like written almost like a treatment or like in a special way to be, like you said, digestible for production. And I'm like, I didn't go to film school. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I mean, I guess I could ask my friends who do it, but that requires a lot of time, and my time is pretty minimal right now. The free time.
Yeah.
So yeah, but anyway, shall we?
To be honest, yeah, sure.
Get started.
Yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting to, well, as an agent, I think it's very interesting for you to talk a bit more about the process, just because I feel like there's a lot of, again, like, misconceived ideas of what the actual process entails. And maybe I'll just leave it there, and then I'll because there's other things I kind of want to say, but then I'm like, I'll kind of come into that. But yeah, what do you feel people's biggest, like, misconceptions of the process of, like, auditioning and getting an audition?
Well, I think there's a lot of, like, misconceptions that people have. A good example, just to give right off the bat, is I represent this, well, now teenager, who's been auditioning, like, fiercely for things for the past 2.5, maybe 3 years, with me. Like, lots of leads, lots of guest stars, but, like, things all across the board. And there was a year before COVID he was booking consistently, and then the past year it was really quiet, but he was still, like, auditioning all the time. And his mom was just like, yeah, like, he always thinks, like, is it just my skill? Am I not good? Like, do they not like me? Da da da. And I always tried to reinforce, no, the fact that you're still auditioning for all this big stuff is because they like you. It's because they are giving you more and more opportunities in order to find you, like, to find something for you. And casting actually says that, like, if like somebody's up for something and they just miss out, casting will say, oh, but we love them, so we're gonna find them something, don't worry. Like, they actually say that, so they'll keep them in mind or whatever. And I think Maria even mentioned that, like, once they know somebody, they'll, like, just refer you for things, or, like, they'll just want to put you together in a project. So I think that's number one, the biggest thing that people misconstrue. It's just like, if you're still auditioning and casting wants to see you, it's because you're doing a good job. If you weren't, you wouldn't be auditioning, like, probably as much. But yeah, that's kind of the first thing. But to go more into, like, the nitty gritty of the process, I guess, well, like, okay, let's just break it down. So casting puts out a breakdown, and all the agents in the city, and potentially in Toronto or in LA or wherever they've opened it up to, are putting all their talent into these roles. If you're doing it correctly, for the smaller roles, it should only be, like, maybe 1 or 2 people being submitted. But think about how many agents there are potentially, and then how much talent is getting submitted on one breakdown. So I'm assuming, like, they're getting thousands of submissions. So from all those submissions, well, dependent on, like, how big how much they've opened it up, but think of, like, all those people who have submitted, even hundreds. You, actor number 1, have been requested to audition. So just that in itself is a feat.
Yeah.
So,
you know what, though? I think just as an actor, I can see how someone would hear what you say and then kind of think about it in a different way. No, actors, literally what Snezina is trying to say is that, so even when she's submitting you, that's not even the point where you're in a self-tape situation or whatever. So that's, like, just the submitting. So it's almost like getting a bid for the attention just for you. And then when you finally get requested, that's when it's special. That's actually, like, wow, you've been picked out. Because I can imagine, to me, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I guess I could get submitted with a bunch of other people. But actually, when you think about it, when you get requested, and I never think of this, Snezina, even though I know you, and I don't think of it like this. And I should. Isn't that mental?
Yeah. Well, I think it's also difficult because I think some people don't underestimate, like, maybe how many times I've submitted them for stuff. And so, like, when I see that they've, like, finally got that request to me, I'm like, yes, like, I submitted them like 20 times in the past month and now they've gotten this audition. Yes, perfect. This is our chance to like show casting what you've got and make that connection. So like it's so important. Another huge thing I've encountered is people getting like brand new actors getting way too focused on when is this shooting? Am I available? What is like who's shooting it? Where is it shooting? Da 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 da. I'm like, okay, you're not really in the position to like be that focused on that kind of stuff because unfortunately, most likely you probably won't book this role. However, this is an opportunity for you to make another connection with casting, to show them your skill or your improved skill, and to keep them, like, to keep you on their brain and so they don't forget you. So like don't get too involved with, oh, this is shooting May through July. Oh, July, part of July I might not be here. Should I even be submitting for this? No, yeah, you should be submitting for it because A, things change all the time, and B, because this is your chance, and like saying no to an audition request is worse than, you know, going into a callback and then potentially not being available for shoot dates. That happens all the time. Actors always are booked on other projects and maybe sometimes they can't make things work or sometimes they will try and coordinate dates. So for me, it's like, don't look at all that. Like, it's funny because like, I think because some people, if they book really quickly, they're like, okay, so when I audition, I'll be like, it'll be really likely that I could potentially get this. And I'm like, no, that was like really just luck. So it's more of like, you know how it is. Like once you've been in it for a while, you audition like a million times before you hear anything. So for people to come in and get like booked on their first like film and TV audition, like that's really lucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Did that make sense?
No, that made complete sense. And the thing is your first comment made sense too. But I can also imagine just myself as an actor. I'm like hearing like, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So, you know, there's loads of other people also submitting. And it's like, no, that's not even the part where you're even involved. Like as in not you, but like the actor. The actor's not even involved at that point. You're trying to get them in the room, and then. But it's something hard. It's hard for me to get my head around, but also, I mean, and that makes me sound really stupid. But I also like I'm fully aware that that's like something that I would probably be like, oh, and actually it makes me then appreciate every single audition I've had because I'm like, oh wow, casting actually wanted to see me out of all of the people. Yeah, it wasn't just like because again. This is another thing as well that we have talked about is that sometimes some people think that being requested is like, oh, it's, or when you send like an audition request to them, like to say, oh, can you tape for this or can you go to this place, blah, 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 that people think that it might be potentially like optional, like it's an open casting call or something rather than they've actually been specifically requested.
Yeah.
Which obviously there are open casting calls. I'd
say that's less than 1% of the time of cool. Something that's I would ever offer to somebody for film and TV and commercials anyway. That would be such a rare thing. And even if it's an open call, the way I see it, they're still selecting who they want to see. They're not just blanket saying, okay, everyone that you've submitted on this can now audition. Open call just means, well, from in Canada, it just means that it's opened for the actors who have the website to also see it, as well as the agent, which is a very rare thing for them to open it up like that, because usually they'll want to just have it as agents in like a professional capacity. Unless it's like a really small project or something like that, or like independent or free or something. But like for something bigger, for them to do an open call, A, it's very rare, and B, they're still selecting who they want to see anyway. Yeah. But regardless, no, like what you're saying. So now I think people need to second guess themselves a little bit when they're wanting to refuse doing an audition for whatever reason, especially if you're new and starting out. Like, to me, it's almost like it's actually quite offensive
Yeah.
When someone tells me, oh, I think we're going to pass on this one. Like, when somebody says that to me, I feel like they're just like taking a poo on me or like throwing trash at me or something. Like, that's how it feels when I hear that, because I'm like, you don't understand like how many times we've been pushing for you to get this opportunity, and now you're saying no on like the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever it is, opportunity that you're getting, and it just like, it hurts me.
Of course.
Because people, and I feel like that's all tied into the mentality of that instant gratification. Oh, I just have an agent. Oh, something else will just come up. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
No, people, this is a business. This is what I do every day to try and make money.
And you work hard.
Yeah, and like, you have to respect that. Even if you're doing it as a side job, this is my full-time job. So you need to respect me putting that effort in for you. And on top of that, it's also casting, who's probably been around, well, in Vancouver, they've all been around for like 30 years, more. That's their full-time job, where they're taking seriously. They're taking time out of their schedule to request people. If you say no, then they're going to have to replace you. And or if you don't submit something last minute, then they've just lost a spot for their submissions that they're going to be sending production. Nobody tends to think about how big the system is, and like how important even a minuscule thing as like an actor role audition getting canceled is. And making it on a bigger scale, because maybe for some casting it isn't as big of a deal, but it really probably depends on the project and the director and the producer, and like how much emphasis they're putting on of like, we're expecting to get 20 tapes of this role. And like, if a bunch of people regret, then that screws over casting for that and makes them look bad, which in turn makes me look bad, which in turn makes the actor look bad. And I think people underestimate how quickly you can offend casting. And like Maria said in the last episode, just from people coming in with a slightly bad attitude, they'll all remember that, and you're done. So like, you can just see how quick it is with some people in their head. Absolutely. And you don't want to like put them off.
Oh, 100%.
So
100%.
Yeah,
no, but
I'm really passionate about that, because obviously it's a problem for me.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is it's difficult, because like when we have talked about this in the past, like obviously I'm kind of, there are sometimes, on very, very rare occasions, very rare, that I won't fulfill a self-tape. Like very rare, but it's probably like once a year, and there's probably a good enough reason for it. But again, I've kind of built that rapport with my agent, so that my agent knows that if I haven't got to one, it's probably because I actually most of the time I would, like, I had one last minute today. It was for an ADR for a feature film, and and they told me an hour before the cutoff date. So it was like so last minute. And so I hopped in the booth straight away, did it, edited it, sent it off, gone. And so I will do those things, but it's only on the very, very, very rare occasion that I won't do it. Because for me, it's like for you, it's my career. I want those opportunities. If that opportunity is being given to me, hell yeah, I want to do it.
Yeah. And also that reflects well on the actor. Like, if I see that there's people who are really eager, then I'm obviously going to be more inclined to be submitting them more, because I know, oh, this person's going to follow through, rather than, someone who's maybe really good looking, but like just doesn't fulfill their requests. And then I'm like, I feel iffy. And I have that feeling sometimes where I'm like, should I submit you? Should I not? What if you say no again? Ooh, is this going to make me look bad? Like, you don't want me to have that feeling about you.
No,
you want me to be like, like person, like, super excited, going to go for it, 100% going to submit this person, and they're going to give me a solid tape, and they're going to do a good job because they care. Of course, that's the person that I'm going to want to submit all the time.
Yeah.
But, absolutely. Like, that being said, just to, like, relieve people a little bit, of course, there's times where you can't fulfill a request. You have COVID. Of course you can't do it. You audition all the time, and you are inundated with requests, and we can't fulfill one potentially. That's fine. if you're a person who does audition consistently all the time and you're solid, and there's just some day like where something's up, yeah, okay, cool, of course I'll understand. My point is, if you're starting out though, and this is like your first handful of opportunities and you're saying no, that's a huge red flag for me. I can be understanding, of course, if it's like kids, or like I've said before, like a single mom with kids, or somebody, like, I get it, that's a lot to try and make work, especially with self-tapes at home, but even they still bang it out for me and they do a good job, so it's definitely possible. So yeah, I don't know. I think if you're saying no, you need to think about if this is the right thing for you to be doing.
100%.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyway.
No, it's important. It's important to talk about it. It really is, because, you know, I know a couple of your clients do listen to the podcast, so
I think more than a couple, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, it's because obviously you've been referring a couple to me for voiceover chats. I actually had another one earlier before I came on with you, and it's interesting how they're so interested to hear what you're like. Like, it's almost like behind the curtain in a way. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because you're in a relaxed environment, but also you're being candid and talking about things, and
yeah,
you know, so they're interested. They're really interested to hear your opinions, to hear what you're like, you know, with your best friend as well. Like, it's true.
Yeah, of course.
Like, just being a bit.
Well, that shows dedication in itself for somebody to want to be that interested to, you know, really get to know who I am or whatever, or just listen to the advice. Like, that means that they're that interested, they care, they're devoted. And the people that I do know who, not that I'm saying everyone needs to listen,
No, of
but
course
the people
not.
that I do know who are listening, especially to these types of episodes, they're the actors who are really hungry. Like, well, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's just the way it is. So it's nice. Yeah. I'm trying to think of, like, kind of the next step that we can chat about, but I guess it's kind of once you're in the mix for something, when you're on hold or your first refusal or whatever, what does that mean? Because I feel like some people get confused as to what that all means. So first refusal just basically means that you can still audition for other stuff. You're in the mix as like somebody that they like, but if you book it, then they have first dibs on you. Right. If you're on hold, usually that means it's between you and a couple of other people, and they're showing you to production and seeing who they like. And that's the same thing as like pinned or whatever, which means like they really do like you, but they're just making sure you're the one. But kind of like what the level is that, okay, so I'll submit the audition, it'll go to the casting assistant potentially, maybe they'll review it first, and then maybe they'll show it to the casting director will review it. They either then do a callback or not, which potentially can be with the director and the producer as well, or if not, if we're in a situation where like now with self-tape, sometimes they might make you redo a tape with like some notes that they have, and then they'll then present you in rank of like who they like most, and then who's the second choice and the third choice in their eyes. Oh, wow. And then they will send that off to, I guess, potentially usually LA, to the producers. And producer for a lot of the time means people with the money. So obviously casting and the directors are more creatively minded, and then sometimes the producers, obviously they're more monetarily minded. So they might have a difference in opinion on who they like based on things like IMDb and Instagram following or demographic. So there's just so many factors to getting selected for something. Yeah. And it gets even worse when you talk about commercials and stuff like that, because then it's so much about like demographic and like what kind of demographic of person do we need to show for this. right now. So it can get, like from commercials, it gets super, super subjective to like less and less subjective depending on like film and TV role and the size of the role and that kind of thing. But still, there's so many levels to get through before you get to that point. And that's just for like stuff from guest star below. If it's a lead thing, you might have to go in for, as you know, a chemistry reading with some other characters or one other character. There might be several of them. They might, well, normal times they might fly you out to LA to do that or to personally meet the director there. Sometimes it can be like 5 auditions, more. Like you hear this from, you know, celebrities when they talk about booking roles. They're like, how many times did I have to go in again? So it can be a really lengthy process. And then this is not to be discouraging. This is just to understand how subjective things can be and how long the process is and how many layers there is to it. So you don't take it as personally as an actor if things don't work out. That's why I'm telling this. Not to be like, oh God, and then it'll just never work out. But just to like show you how difficult it is to actually get to that level. Basically, so that you cherish these small moments even more. But like another example is, say you get the lead, it's a pilot. So the pilot gets approved, or no, the pilot gets greenlit to get shot first episode, and then they present that to different networks. The network could be like, great, love the story, but we're gonna just recast everybody, or we're gonna recast this one person, or we're gonna give this role to somebody more famous, blah blah blah. So even when you get to that point where you're like, I've made it, I booked the lead in a pilot, and then you can be recast. I actually know somebody who took the spot in a sitcom of the lead from the pilot, like after the pilot, because they were like, we don't like that person that much, let's get somebody else, and they swooped in and took the lead role, and then they were on like 5 seasons of a show. So it happens all the time. So that's just to show you how freaking difficult it is to get on top in this world. It's not like, you know, you wake up tomorrow, you're on set, and you know, I don't know, they just pull you into the lead role. No, what was I gonna say? You can cut this bit out.
No,
what's his name that got you the role? What's his name?
Oh, not Robert Redford.
Robert Redford. I was gonna say, it's not like someday you get on set and Robert Redford pulls you aside and decides that you're gonna play one of like an important pivotal character in their movie from background. It's not like that happens. But
no.
Yeah. I had a question for you, Jen. Now that I've sort of gone on this rant and said all this stuff, like as an actor, I feel like you probably knew a lot of that, but is it a nice reminder? Does it put things into perspective? I don't know.
Yeah,
I think sense? Yeah.
I think it does. I mean, obviously at the moment I'm not really in the on-camera scene at the moment. But I think it would give me a healthy respect for the process when I'm like back doing it. Did I tell you that I've been signed by an agency here in the UK?
Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's that's very, very excited about that. We can talk more about that at another point because they haven't actually fully launched yet, so they're a new agency.
Oh yes,
but with
amazing.
So very excited about that. So I'm looking forward to going into that world again. But I do think it gives people a healthy perspective, because for me, I think because I've been in the industry for a while, I don't think I was ever really deluded when I was young, but I think I probably thought I would be at a certain spot by now. But my goal was never to be like, oh, I'm gonna be, like the lead in a film and I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. obviously it'd be nice. But, you know, I never really thought that that was gonna really happen for me. I think I would, so I to be honest, what I want is just to be a jobbing actor, just booking some roles here and there and just continually working. Even if it just means, okay, I just continually audition and get the odd job now and again. Brilliant. Because I don't think I realized or appreciated just how much just auditioning and casting, getting me in, actually means. Like, they're obviously in my corner and they actually do want me to book something, because that's why they keep bringing me in. But it's not, but I remember when I was younger and I'd be like, oh God, like I've auditioned for this one casting director like 4 or 5 times. Like, they obviously know what they're going to get. Why don't they just give me the role? And it's like, well.
That's the thing, though, is that they do like you, but maybe the production or whomever, doodad director, had said, no, we're going to go with a blonde on this one, or whatever, how many times. And then casting's probably like, no, you need to get Jennifer Bradley, so we're just going to keep auditioning for her and keep proposing her for stuff.
Yes.
So it's like, that's the perspective you need to have. They like me. They're trying to find me something.
Yes.
Rather than, why do I need to keep impressing them because they know what it's all about? Yeah, of course they know what it's all about. They like you. They just want to like give you an opportunity, because at the end of the day, it's not up to them. It's not. Yeah. They're just part of the ladder that they need to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably like a super common thing for actors to be like, oh, I've been auditioning for this one casting director forever. Like, why won't they just book me? Yeah. And it's like, they probably have proposed you to be booked, but it just hasn't worked out yet, you know?
Absolutely. I know. And it's no, it's good. I think it's really good. And to be honest, like, obviously, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I am aware of in the industry, but I feel like I'm learning listening to you too, because, you know, I don't think we've never really talked about agenty things before this podcast, really. I only get like,
I'm like, who wants to listen to my job unless they ask me?
I mean, but it is interesting, and it's something that I do feel like is quite mystical in a way. Like, people are like, oh, it just kind of happens, and then, you know, you get an audition and you maybe tape for it or you don't. It's like, well, no,
it's not mystical. We're just trudging through the mud is what we're doing. We're trudging through the mud. Oh God. Yeah. But I think it's just, this whole conversation is just to put things more into perspective for people, to encourage them. You know, to encourage those who maybe are getting a bit down about auditioning lots and not booking, and to make those people who do say no, you know, think about that a little bit. Why am I saying no? Is this something I really want to do? Is that, like, what's the reasoning behind this? Maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore. And yeah, I'd rather that honesty than somebody just staying on just to stay on, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like I said, we want to have solid actors that we can rely on to do a good job. And of course. I think another thing that I'd love to just bring up again, because it's a common topic that happens throughout all our podcasts, is, you know, at what level does the agent help you, and at what level do you help yourself? Oh, so yeah, but before to get like totally fully into it, it's because, okay, so recently, you know, with self-tapes, I've been getting a lot of questions where I'm like, should I be the one answering this question for you, or should you be figuring this out on your own as an actor? So a common one is, and this is coming from people who have done like independent films and stuff, so I find it a little odd, but they'll be like, okay, there's no lines in this scene, what do I do? And I'm like, okay, let me take a look. And then I'm saying, well, okay, number one, you should be focusing on your listening skills, because, you know, even though you might not be speaking, the camera might be on you to see your reactions to what everyone else is saying in the room, which can be quite powerful. And then I always give the advice, still give the character a backstory. How would they react to certain things being said? But, to me, that's stuff that you should be thinking about all the time by yourself, because when you're starting out, most of your stuff will be no lines or one line or two lines. And, I think it's a little bit concerning for me if you're asking me what to do when there's no lines, because I feel like a lot of the time, even when you're a huge actor in a lead role, you're going to have moments where there's scenes where you say nothing.
Yeah.
But you're still getting focused on, and people are still watching you for the way you react, which can be, like I said, super powerful.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, even myself, battling with how much advice am I supposed to give to you in this moment? I mean, obviously I do, because I want you to do well. So I'm not like, feigning that I don't know. But at the same time, for me to have to go through every single person's sides and then coach them through how to do their scene. Like, I'm not an acting coach. I'm your agent. I'm here, of course, to mentor and guide you and to fill in some blanks. But at the same time, these are things that you should be thinking about on your own. So if you haven't yet and you're listening, start thinking about that, because, I don't have all the answers for you. Oh, are you? Okay, good. Because I was like, I felt kind of bad bringing this up. I'm like, should I be the one telling them exactly what to do? Like, obviously I'm here to give my opinion if I think you did a good job and whatever. But, like, I don't feel like I'm necessarily in the position to, like, really coach you through. And again, this is said with a grain of salt. I do coach kids and parents a lot on what to do, because I feel like that's a totally different position. But I'm talking about adult actors. Yeah. So
where there's,
just to make sure. Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, the thing is so I think it was about 2 months ago, I had a commercial audition and there was no lines, but there was 3 pages. So I read all those 3 pages, and there was obviously stage directions. So I did the stage directions and acted everything out. It was a full 2 minutes of me not speaking.
Yeah. And I think some people are really good at that and the improvisation of it all. And I think some people find it really awkward.
Yeah.
Because that, and you can give me your opinion on this, because, like, in certain markets, like, for example, I get this question a lot. Oh, in the scene, I'm supposed to be drinking coffee the whole time, or I'm supposed to be eating something. Should I actually mime that I'm doing that or not? And I always say, well, that's a choice. That's an actor's choice, whether you feel like you can be as strong in the scene without, having to put the coffee up to your face. And casting is okay with that, unless it's like something pivotal about your character, like whatever, and it makes sense to be doing it. But most of the time, you're not really expected to mime all the stuff in the scene for your audition. But I always say, like, that's your choice. Like, I can't give you that answer.
No, of course not.
Does that make sense? Do you feel like that's okay?
Yes. I feel like that's.
I still feel bad. I'm like, maybe I should tell them what to do. I don't know.
No. The whole point of being an actor. So your profession is a talent agent. Our profession is to act and figure our shit out.
Yeah.
Like,
Again, with a grain of salt, those of you who are starting out and I've scouted you out of nothing, of course I'm going to guide you and I'm going to help you as much as possible, especially in this time where it's really hard to get coaching and to do classes. But for those of you who are coming to me, who have already, trained or done acting, like, this is stuff that you really need to be figuring out on your own. Like, I respect that you trust me to give you that answer, and I can give you the answer. But I'm also being that annoying parent type where I'm like, I can give you the answer, but I want you to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. And also, could you imagine if you had to go through every single person's sides to tell them what you think they needed to do?
Well, Jen, I think this is a hole that I kind of put myself in, where everybody feels really, like, I hope so, that a lot of people on my roster feel like they're special and they're, like, the number one, and that I have all the time in the world to dedicate to all their questions and everything, which is nice, because that's how I want them to feel. I want them to feel like they have somebody to talk to and that they're important and they're not just another number. And yes, of course, that's true. But if you're constantly relying on me for answers for absolutely everything, and you're taking up a lot of my time, That's taking up my time from pushing you to get roles and do stuff, to answer questions about how to do the font on your resume and how to click some box on some casting site that you don't understand. Like, it's like, don't ask me, ask the casting site people.
Yeah.
Or Google it or figure something out. Like, you can't rely on me for absolutely everything. Like, at the end of the day, I do rep like over 100 people. So like, if they're all asking me these questions all the time, that takes away from me doing my actual job for you, which is getting you in the door and booking roles. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe some people have a difference of opinion on that. Maybe they think their agent should do everything. I don't know. I feel like I do a lot more than most agents probably do.
I think you do too.
But that's just kind of what I think from my experience from working in under other agency umbrellas in the past and seeing what they will and will not allow. But yeah, and then so here's a contentious topic, because so our friend from Act on This,
Ross Grant,
I couldn't remember his last name. Ross Grant from Act on This loves to talk about how your agent only makes 15%, so that other 85% is up to you. And I see his posts all the time, what you should be doing, and like what you shouldn't rely on your agent necessarily to do. And I know it's like a different market where, like, in England you really have to do so much for yourself because it's so huge, but I feel like that's just a good attitude to have even in a smaller market like Vancouver. And I do encourage people that, like, in the first meetings I have with people, or when they ask me what else should I be doing, I'm like, well, if you feel like your headshots and your reels and your profiles are filled out properly, then work on scenes, keep taping new stuff, make connections with people, learn new accents, like try to do independent projects with people. Like, I recently connected some actors that I represent together and they made an independent project, and it's beautiful, and it's got they're posting tons of stuff about it and publicity, and even though it's a small independent project, that's still getting your face and your name out there to hundreds and thousands of people. And you never know where it's gonna go, and I feel like that's just, I don't know, I feel like that's the difference between really wanting to be an actor and then kind of doing it as a side thing, because I feel like it does take a lot of effort and time for people to get that much into it. And sorry, one last thing, I feel like I'm on a rant, but
no, you go for it.
I feel like it's just a little confusing for me, because I even represent people who are like full-time in university or in school for acting, and they still don't do half of the stuff. And I'm like, I'm confused. Why are you giving all this money to this program to try and be an actor, but you can't even do like a contrasting scene for your Actors Access or update your profile? Like, I mean, it's great that you're super focused on your program, but isn't it to end up in this goal of having an agent and auditioning? It's really confusing to me, because this is like a very common thing where they're like, oh, I'm just super busy with school right now, I'm like, okay, but the point of that schooling is to get you to this point. So why aren't you like fulfilling the brief? I don't know.
No, it doesn't make sense. And I feel like, yes, there is a place for theatre and drama schools and all of that, but unfortunately most people come out of it not really knowing what they're going to do, or like how they even need to do to get on in the industry. They're just not told. And I think that's why I found it fascinating when Joshua brought it up about the business of acting, and Maria brought it up about the business of acting, and actually I think even Lee Arenberg brought up about the business of acting. Lee Arenberg also brought up about the 20%, 80%, so there's the information's out there. It's just whether or not you're like, it's whether or not you actually want to like push yourself past doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, and I think that's the struggle of a lot of people. I don't know if it's their fear of success. I don't know if it's because they're lazy. Sorry, but it's true. But like,
Yeah. I mean, it might be that they like the idea of doing it, like the idea of being on camera, the idea of doing voice, all those kind of things, but it's like connecting those dots. So like recently, just over the weekend, I recorded quite a substantial amount of footage for you for submitting me.
yeah.
And like basically there was 3 different scenes. So the beginning was like on a nice blank wall so that people could see what I looked like, and I could do a full length, well, knee to head at least. And then have a little chat. And then because I wanted the audio to sound really good, I then came to the booth and then filmed it with the booth. And then my husband was holding up a laptop to try which did creep into shot now and again, but hey ho, it's fine. And then also then doing another thing at the end, and then also then talking. I mean, it's a lot of effort, but because I want to do it, I mean, yes, I probably piss Lee off sometimes because obviously he's like, oh, what are we doing now? And I'm like, just hold this, record it with that, we'll be fine. But it is a lot of effort, but it's worth it if you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, like you said, you may want to rethink about whether you actually really want to do this. Do you just like the idea of it, or do you actually enjoy it? Because I genuinely enjoy it. Like, I loved popping into the booth today to just do a quick ADR audition, just, for fun. And then I've got another audition that I need to do after this, just to record for another self-tape, a voiceover. I mean,
yes, that's the life you choose, and that's what you want to do, so you got to go for it. I get it.
And if I had self-tapes as well for like on camera, I'd be doing those as well, because I damn well want it.
Yeah, well, anyway. Same with me. I wanted to have my own business, so now I'm stuck with 2 telephones, and I have to, be on all the time. Even if, like, somebody's on a 6 a.m. shoot, I need to, I check my phone to make sure everything's okay.
Yeah.
And I have it on all the time. But, that's what we do to try and make things work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy. And I think that's the whole point, is it's not easy. And it's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you can just stroll into and expect, for all the doors to open for you and for you to book everything. And I feel like, that's the attitude that we get. And I've even had people saying, oh, well, I've invested, so much money into becoming an actor with courses and with headshots and this, and I'm just not seeing enough like bookings and things out of it. And I'm like, if you think that the more money you put into it means the more you're gonna be successful, then again, I think this isn't the right industry for you, because everyone knows this is one of the hardest industries ever to try and get into at all. And any sort of minute success is success, and you need to be happy for that. Because when you look at the small, tiny percentage of people, especially people with no famous mother or father, getting into the limelight is so tiny. So like think about that. Not to be discouraging, but at the same time, like you said, like if you're just happy to do it and you're not like, oh, I'm gonna be Brad Pitt or I'm gonna be fucking Meryl Streep. If you don't, I mean, that's a great attitude to have, but you also need to be humble and just, cherish being on set with that 1-2 liner. And be like, wow, I'm on set, like I'm in the zone, I'm acting, I'm doing what I love. And I have actors like that who book like, kind of really difficult, far away, measly, night shooty things that make you do awful stuff for like pennies, and they're like, but it's okay because I'm in it and I'm on set and I'm acting and it's what I want to do and I'll take it and it's great. And I'm like, amazing, like you truly want to do this. So, yeah.
But that being said, it can be really fun when you do get those like.
Yeah, of course it's fun.
When you,
I had
like,
fun
when you,
being background on set. Like, come on.
yeah, it is fun, and I think the opportunities are out there for you if you're malleable enough, like if you're flexible enough and you're willing to move with whatever ends up happening. I mean, the amount of times I've been penciled for stuff. I get penciled and then released, penciled, released, penciled, released. Sometimes I don't even get released. I'm just penciled, and the day has come and gone, so I know that it's already been
penciled
released.
forever.
Freaking hell, yeah. But you know, it's all part of that excitement. I do get excited when I get penciled. I'm like, ooh, baby.
It's a lottery, right?
Yes.
Every day's a lottery. That's why it keeps me on my toes too. Every time I submit somebody, every time I get an audition, I'm like, ooh, I've put in a number in the lottery. Is it gonna win? Is it not?
Exactly.
Same for the actor. I mean, you have to just be willing to. It's all about the journey and not the destination.
It really is. I know
Yeah,
it sounds
but
cheesy, but
that's
it really
life.
is. Yeah.
I feel like an old lady saying shit like that, but it's honest. Like, you do humble out as you get older, and you know this.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate those super eager 20-somethings who are wanting it. That's so great. I'm like, you know, wonderful. Please have that attitude. It's wonderful. But it's also really nice when you humble out and like you said, oh, I'm just glad to be here. I'm just glad to be on set, and I'm glad to audition. Even just audition, I'm glad to just do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm, you know, doing what I love, and that's exciting. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how are we going to end this podcast, Neji? How are we going to do this? What are we going to do?
How are we gonna end this? I want to keep ranting all day.
That'll be part 3 of Agent.
Yeah, part 3. What irritated Snezzy this week? No, I really hope this was helpful for the people listening. I'm happy to, you know, I hope it doesn't come off as like I'm always frustrated with people, because that's not the case at all. I love my job. I love the film industry. It's just more, you know, more some little pitfalls that people have where I'm trying to encourage them to kind of come out of that and to also think, you know, brighter and things like that. So
Yeah.
I'm not coming from any place of irritation or malice necessarily at all.
No,
Just saying.
definitely not. Well, I can tell that it's your passion, and you get like, and you want to get
but
behind
I think
people.
passion can get misconstrued with like being frustrated and irritated, but that's not what it is. It is just passion. Yeah.
Le passion.
Le passion. How can we end this? I don't fucking know.
I
I don't know, Jen.
Should I just ask you a random question?
Yeah, sure.
I haven't even planned any, but I could just try and pull one
I
out.
don't know. I'm trying to think of how we can end it. I don't know, Jen.
The end. It's fine. That's absolutely fine. How about give me one thing that you're looking forward to next week? Is there anything you're looking forward to?
Next week?
I don't know.
I don't know what I'm doing next week.
Okay, how about this? Give me one. All right. So when you can next travel abroad, where are you going to go?
We can both do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh.
Ask the question.
Yeah. So where with get me words out, Jen.
Jen,
right.
just start over.
You start over. So when we're able to next travel, where is the first place? Well, abroad anyway. Where is the first place that you're gonna go?
Say I was still in Vancouver and it was just gonna be a nice little holiday, I'd probably just want to go to Hawaii, because I just want to have some beautiful ocean time and just swim and it just be easy and nice. Yeah, Hawaii I think I would go to first, maybe. Yeah. Because it's easier to get there from Vancouver. But yeah,
Yes.
oh God, I'm just dreaming of fucking beach and blue water.
Yeah.
So yeah. What about you?
To be honest, I think the first place we actually want to go when everything lifts up weirdly is Vancouver.
Oh, boo-boo, come
yeah,
to me.
Yeah, we really want to go. It would just be really nice. Just be really nice to just see you, be in Vancouver. It'd just be nice. But if I couldn't have that, because you said such a lovely choice like Hawaii, to be honest, like I would say Lee and I have talked a lot about. Well, Lee loves Iceland and I've never been, so it would be really cool to go to Iceland. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so good. I've watched a couple
cold,
shows
good.
that was in Iceland. Oh, have you seen The Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
Oh, no, I haven't, but that's like one of those movies that I keep wanting to watch.
I know. I was always like, nah. And Sean's like, since you know you're really going to like it, just watch it. It was brilliant. It was so nice. But he's like in Iceland and the landscapes all around him. And it's amazing. And I'm like, okay, we're going to Iceland.
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one to watch if you want to go to Iceland for sure. But cool.
Nice.
All right, everybody.
Sounds good.
That was Actor and Agent for you today. Yeah.
Yes,
to be Jen.
Yeah, no, I like it. So if you like this podcast, then why not give it a review? It's you can review us on IMDb and Apple Podcasts. And now that we have the video aspect of it, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Bye.
Bye.